Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and if you haven't already heard, the CCB, or the Canada Child Benefit, recently was increased, actually just as of this week, and that means a whole bunch of people who have children who have been receiving the CCB, well, they're going to be receiving new amounts of money. So in this video, not only will we be talking about these new amounts and what the new maximums are for the CCB, but we'll also be going into some detail about how you can personally calculate what your new adjusted rate will be. But before we do that, make sure to check out the link in the description where you can get 40% off the Canada Money Mastery Program with coupon code GROW, where we talk all about building wealth right here in Canada. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. All right, let's get into this. First, it's important to know that the CCB is an inflation indexed benefit, and essentially what that means is whenever the cost of living goes up, so too will this benefit, in order to sort of scale with the amount of money it takes for the average Canadian to make ends meet. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that the inflation in Canada is measured by something called the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index. Essentially, this measures how much it costs to buy the same basket of goods over time, and if that price goes up, well, we see higher inflation. If that price goes down, we see lower inflation. And actually, over the past year, we've had quite an interesting story when it comes to inflation. Here are the numbers from the beginning of the pandemic. We actually saw inflation drop dramatically from the sort of 2% that the Bank of Canada targets for inflation on a yearly basis in Canada. I'll move myself over here a little bit so that you can see what I'm talking about, but you'll see over the past number of months, we've actually seen inflation go up quite a lot, and that started to reflect in the numbers. But when it comes to the CCB, they actually don't take the most recent numbers closest to the July, when that number is changed for the CCB. They actually will take it as of the beginning of the year, or to the best of my knowledge. And if we go back to January 1st, 2021, even though inflation is at 3.6% now, back in January, inflation was at 1%. So essentially what that means is that the previous year's CCB amount, well, that's going to be only increased by 1%, because that's what the CPI was telling us inflation was for the past year. So using that 1% inflation rate, we can calculate what these new numbers are going to be for the maximum of the CCB. Now, if you're somebody who's already in this CCB program, you have a child and you've been receiving the CCB, you'll know that this is split up into two groups: children under the age of 6 and children between the ages of 6 through all the way through 17. They're different maximums. Now, for children under the age of 6, the previous 2020 amount was $6,765 as a maximum. And now, of course, if we add 1% to that, that's roughly $68. We get to our new maximum amount for the year of $6,833. Now, if it's a child between the age of 6 and 17, well, the previous amount for 2020 was $5,708, or roughly $57. We're going to add on with that 1% inflation, because, of course, like I said, the CCB is tied to that inflation data, and that brings us to our new maximum for children between the ages of 6 and 17 of $5,765. But not every family with a child will receive that maximum amount for every child they have. No, there's actually some calculations that go into what amount you're exactly going to get. And the first thing you need to know in order to do this calculation for yourself is your AFNI, and that stands for your adjusted family net income. In order to calculate what your AFNI is, or your adjusted family net income, you first need to check your taxes and see, hey, what did I report on my taxes? That will essentially be your net income, because it accounts for all of the expenses that you may have had if you're someone who's self-employed or running a business. As a quick aside that won't apply to everyone, there are a couple things that you would need to subtract from that net income to get to your adjusted family net income. This is specifically for people who are on the Registered Disabilities Saving Program. Any income that you've received through that, you would actually subtract that from your net income to get you to a lower income level when it comes to the CCB. And you'll see here in a minute, the lower your income, the more you're going to receive from the CCB, because that's how the government sort of determines who needs the most help. So based on this adjusted family net income, based on your most recent taxes, so for this year, that would be your 2020 taxes, that's what they use every July to recalculate the amount that you're going to receive. And these calculations seem like they're pretty complex, but they're actually pretty simple. And at the end, I'm going to show you a tool that you can use to get a rough idea of what yours is going to be without having to do any math at all. But here on the CRA's website, they actually give you information on what amount you're going to receive. And the two factors that actually will affect this are are what that AFNI are, your net income for your family, whether or not it's above or below certain thresholds, as well as how many children you have in your care. No matter the amount of children in your care, if your family's net income is below $32,028 for this year, that's the 2021 season, sort of starting July, going to the end of next June. If your income's under this amount, well, then you're just going to automatically get the maximum amount for the year. And as a recap, for children under the age of 6, that's $6,833 or $569 per month. And for 6 to 17, that's $5,765 per year or $480.41 per month. So again, no matter how many children you have, if your net income for your family, your adjusted family net income, if it's below that $32,000 limit, you're going to automatically receive the new maximum. But if your AFNI number, your net income number, is above that $32,000 roughly threshold, well, then every dollar you earn over that amount is actually going to claw back from the maximum amount you could be receiving for the CCB. And this is where things get different based on how much you've made actually over that threshold, as well as how many children you have. The way that the CCB is structured, the more children you have, the less money is clawed back from you when you earn over these certain thresholds included for the CCB, as a way to sort of help support families that have more children that they need to support. Let's go over a quick example just to make sense of this. For this example, we're going to assume that you have one child in your care and you're making somewhere between $32,000 and $69,000, putting you in this sort of second middle category. In that instance, every dollar you earn over $32,000 and 28 additional dollars, $32,028, well, then 7% of every dollar will actually get clawed back from your CCB amount that you'd be set to receive. To make things easy for me doing mental math here, let's say for this example, you as a family made $42,028. Just to make this math easy for me, that means that you've made $10,000 over the threshold. So as a result, 7% of that $10,000 is going to be clawed back from the amount you would have received for the CCB, meaning that you're going to subtract $700 from the maximum for your child because you earned over that income threshold. Now, if I sort of just eliminate that, we know that subtracting $700 from $6,833 would leave you at $6,133 per year. So that's essentially how this system works, allowing for people who are making a higher income to receive a little bit less and more money to go proportionally to the people who aren't making as much money. And then the next category is for any family whose AFNI number, their net income number, is above $69,395. Then things get a little bit different. There's sort of two different rates that the money is clawed back at. I'll show you a little bit here. If you are making over $69,395, then the total that you have to subtract from the amount that you were to receive from the CCB is $2,616 plus some percentage depending on how many children you have in your care. This number, the 2,616, that's actually the total maximum amount for between $32,000 all the way up to $69,000. So instead of calculating that separately, you know that that's going to be the maximum that you take away from this. So you can see it gets a little bit more complex here in the third category, but I'm going to show you a tool that'll allow you to just sort of input the numbers and it will sort of just spit out how much you're roughly going to get. The Government of Canada put together a child and family benefits calculator, and essentially this will calculate what CCB amount you'll be able to get, as well as additionally some other family benefits that you may qualify for. So I'll put a link to this calculator down there in the description of this video so that you can work through it yourself to make sure that you're receiving anything that you may be entitled to. You can work through here, and of course they give you the disclaimers that this is just a sort of a rough estimate, but it will be a little bit easier than trying to go through all of those individual calculations I was just explaining. So hopefully this video has helped you out a little bit, or at least just let you know that, hey, an increase is coming down the pipeline, even if it is actually the lowest increase that the CCB has gone up because of these historically low inflation numbers that we saw during January of this year when they sort of took that reading to apply to the benefit. In future years, especially if inflation keeps on going the way it will, or it seems to be going right now, you could see higher increases for any benefit that's indexed to inflation. We're going to get new inflation data at the end of this month, so if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're going to cover that right here on the channel and talk about, hey, how how is this going to affect the everyday average Canadian in terms of their day-to-day life? And of course, if you haven't already done so, click the link in the description for 40% off of the Canada Money Mastery program. We talk all about building wealth right here in Canada, which I think is something that's kind of under-taught throughout the education system. So check that out, see if it's a good fit for you. I'd love to see you in there. But with all of that said, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really hope this video helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time.